Welcome to Femme Parler Podcast, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. I am your host, Shirley Altador, where each week we will chat about how to rise strong out of all types of obstacles that come with relationships. Through personal life experiences and discussions ranging from infidelity, trust, forgiveness, sex, heartbreak, self-love, and so much more. I am passionate and obsessed to provide guidance to every woman to create a better life. Let's dive in, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. With me, your virtual girlfriend. Welcome back to another episode of Femme Parler Podcast. Today we have a special guest with us. We have Karin, is a recovering corporate workaholic. After years in a high-pressure leadership role in a Fortune 500 companies, she's traded the boardroom for the bedroom. In her hilarious tell-all book, The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, a penetrating memoir, she recounts the mishaps and misadventures she's had over the past 40 years with a special partner in crime, her vagina named V. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to interview this woman, because anytime I hear people talking about anything that has to do with sex, it is exciting for me. Not in a negative way, but you know what I mean, Karin. So I'm going to pass you the mic to add on to that and let the people know who you are.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here today and share this exciting tale of vagina stories with your audience. So, look, I was like probably many of your listeners, right? I had a cushy corporate job, and I say cushy a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I mean, it was tough. It was a hard job. Don't get me wrong. It was stressful. There was a lot of pressure. There was a ton of responsibility. But, you know, it was the six-figure salary. I had the Benz in the driveway, the happy marriage most of the time, two happy, healthy boys who were very athletic. I mean, I didn't worry about money. You want to go out to dinner? Cool, let's go. You want to go to a New Jersey Devils game? Great. Let's get, fifth row seat tickets. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yet something was missing.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that was holding me back, that was frustrating me, that was just taking me off my game. Like, I would wake up in the morning and be like, I don't want to go to work. I don't care how many marketing qualified leads come in. I really don't. I don't give a shit. and yet this is what I have to wake up and do every single day and get raked over the coals by leadership if they don't think it's going the way that they want it to go. And I just thought there has to be more. There has to be another reason why I was put here on this planet, and it can't be to make PowerPoint presentations all day. Mm-hmm. So, because that would be a very cruel joke. So I was complaining one day at work, and someone just said to me, like, if you're unhappy, then what do you want to do? Like, what's the one thing you would regret not doing before you died? And that question hit me like a ton of bricks because I couldn't answer it. Like, Shirley, I could tell you exactly everything that was wrong in my life. Mm-hmm. I don't like this. I don't like that. This isn't working well. But I could not tell you what to replace it with. And that hit me so hard, and it sent me on this journey to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And turns out I wanted to write my story that I had started actually back in 2009. So this is like 10, 11, 12 years now in the making, and it's all going to be culminating on the 14th of September in the book launch. So it's been quite a ride, and I'm happy to report that I'm no longer, stressed out, living life in the passenger seat. I'm now in full control, which is amazing.
That is good. Congratulations on the book coming out.
Thank you.
Now, a few questions that I have.
Sure.
The big question, before I even ask all the other questions, what does your vagina have to do with this? Were you having sex problems? Why were you angry at your vagina? And how did your vagina become part of the title?
Fair questions, all fair questions. So this book actually began as a joke between my husband and me. Ah. In 2009, I was pregnant with my first son.
Okay.
And my OBGYN said that I should prepare my body for birth, which apparently involved putting olive oil on your fingers and then massaging open your vagina, or as I'm told, actually is a vulva, because
Mm-hmm.
that is why the original title of this book was I Don't Know My Vagina, because I'm totally clueless down there. So my husband comes home from work one day because I tried this ridiculous tactic and it was a disaster. I mean, olive oil was squirting everywhere. It was all over the bathroom floor. I mean, there was more olive oil everywhere but on me and my V. And
Oh.
so my husband's like, "What the hell happened in the bathroom?" And I'm telling him and he's like, "Oh my God." He's like, "You know what you should do?" And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to have this like, what is your advice? Please tell me what I
I
should
know
do.
what you're thinking. You probably thought he was going to be like, just lay down and I got you.
Right? No, no, there was no offer, actually. He was kind of like, I don't know about putting olive oil down there. Like, what are we doing? Baking bread? Like, what's happening here? So he was like, you should write a book and call it I Don't Know My Vagina. And it hit me at first. I was like, that's dumb. Like, who would want to read a book about my vagina? And why would I even write such a story? Like, stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks for your advice, buddy. Moving on.
And you
But there was
continued to make a mess in the bathroom. He did not offer his assistance as you're still trying to lubricate your vulva.
I was like, please, Lord, let tiny heads or loose vaginas run in the family. I don't care which. I'll take either. Like, just please don't let me tear, right?
Oh.
And I just went about my daily business. I was like, I'm going to hope for the best. Fingers crossed. And so we like went through this process and I started thinking about it though. I was like, maybe I should write a book. What about that time I lost my virginity? What about that time I got my period and all the kids on the bus like were chanting Freeland got her period? Like, what about that time I got that urinary tract infection and actually thought it was an STD? Next thing you know, I was like, we got a book. Like, there are all of these stories that need to be shared.
Karin, you got your period on the bus?
No, but
Oh,
no,
I was
thank
about
God.
to say.
Oh
I
my
was like, you're
gosh.
one of those ones that I've seen in the movies, those girls, and then they have to put a sweater. I was like, girl, but I mean, we've all probably got our periods, regardless if it was school, the bus, you're at Walmart or whatever store you're at. I get it. Okay, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. But it is in someone else put this fabulously. Jennifer Gaines, she's from the Alliance for Period Supplies, which a
Hmm.
portion of my book proceeds are going to be going to benefit them and end period poverty. But
Gotcha.
she said, this whole experience with your vagina is both universal and yet personal at the same time. And it really is, because we all get periods. We all get UTIs. We all have
Yes.
sex. We all either have orgasms or struggle to have orgasms.
Yes.
It's so universal, but yet each experience is so unique and different and personal to each vagina owner. So
Exactly.
I just felt like, as I started thinking about, could this become a book? There are so many times I felt alone or
Hmm.
ashamed of my body or
Hmm.
uncomfortable about my body. I didn't want to tell anyone. Literally, I had a urinary tract infection. I lived in a sorority house with like 15 other women, and I just suffered with it because I was afraid to tell anybody what I was feeling down there.
But you know why? As children, we're not made comfortable and we're not properly educated. I love my mother. She did the best that she know how to do,
Mm-hmm.
but she didn't talk to me about shit.
Yeah.
Not a goddamn piece of information when it came to my vagina, how to care for it, what to do. I got my education from me doing my own little research, and thank God for my fucking gynecologist who was a
Yeah.
lifesaver for me.
Right.
So this is why UTIs, yeast infections, bacterial vaginosis, they're not discussed because you don't want your girlfriend to think you're disgusting or you're
Right.
nasty. I'm not going to tell her my vagina itches. I'm not going to bring that up to my girls because they're going to think I'm nasty or I'm sleeping with a whole bunch of people. But these are common fucking problems that women go through.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm taking the stigma out of it, right? I'm taking out all of the tabooness because
Mm-hmm.
it's not taboo. And it's been so interesting to me as I'm trying to market this book and launch it.
Mm-hmm.
People on LinkedIn won't touch it with a 10-foot pole because it has the word vagina in the title.
Exactly.
And I'm like, okay, so there is 50% of the world about is female.
Mm-hmm.
And every woman that works now suddenly is supposed to shrink and pretend like she doesn't have a vagina. Like, sorry guys, we got vaginas. Like,
That's still the stigma of if you're on your period, you need to hide your pads and your tampons because you don't want somebody going to know that you're going to the bathroom to handle your business. But this is what the fuck happens to me every goddamn month. Me and a lot of other women. So
oh
if
yeah,
I decide to walk by your desk with a tampon in my hand, why should I be crucified or be looked at funny or made feel ashamed because I got to take care of my business?
right. Yeah. I mean, look, I have one of those cute little things that says like it has like a little mantra about, PMS or whatever, and it's like a little case, and I put them in there. I mean, I personally probably wouldn't want to walk around with a tampon anyway, just because I don't want to necessarily announce it. But like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would always carry my little silver case, and I'm sure people knew what I was going to do, but like I don't know. We do need to make it normal,
We
because
don't make it normal
we don't.
because we are made to feel ashamed. That's private business. You don't want to let people know what you're going to do in the bathroom. But if I'm going to the bathroom, we all know something's going to happen. Either I'm taking a shit or I'm pissing or I'm handling my business. So
Right.
why do I need to be secretive about it? You know
Right.
how many times I've announced to my girlfriend, going to take a piss?
Yep. Yeah. Because we
So,
all do it. And
yes.
that's the thing. I just want to make it seem so much normal so people can have these conversations and they aren't shrinking themselves or feeling shame or dealing with something that isn't even really there. I mean, I think for me, growing up and just, becoming sexual and being in an intimate relationship, I thought everyone around me was having orgasms left and right. Like, I thought everybody was having this amazing sex life, orgasms for days, and I felt so broken. Like something was wrong with my body. I mean, I literally didn't even know if I was capable of having an orgasm. So, like, I talk about buying toys and experimenting and trying to figure out that self pleasure first. Like, what do I like? What do I
Mhm.
want? So that I could then, when I was brave enough, communicate it to my partner, who is now my husband. But, like, you're sitting around feeling broken for absolutely no reason because, newsflash, most women don't orgasm from penetration alone.
No, they
Well,
don't.
that is what all teenage boys are taught, think, that's that we just go in there and pump and dump. And peace out.
Fellatio is not discussed because it's normally for young teenagers. Oh my God, that's disgusting. You don't do that. All they know is penis to vagina, and that's it. They're not
Yeah.
educated about anything else.
Yeah.
And women, girls, young girls, I realize, when you say that, you don't talk about that.
Mm-mm.
My daughter's 14, and of course, we haven't had a discussion about orgasm, but that's something I should when she becomes, of course, a little older and better able to understand. As much as she may not want to have the discussion, I should be the one to at least introduce it to her and let her know that that is normal, that is okay. And this is something you should have. You shouldn't just
Right.
lay on your back and just have someone penetrate you and you're not feeling anything.
Right. Yep. I think that's amazing. And I think more people need to talk about it. Where I do think a lot of people get confused or get not confused, but concerned perhaps, is
Mm-hmm.
that people have certain views about when it's appropriate to have sex, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
grew up in a household where you wait till you get married.
Same.
And you know what? I honestly, that's kind of what I'm teaching my boys because I know that they're going to make their own decision. So if I can at least give that foundation, hey, we just wait till we're married. But it can't stop there. That can't be the end of the discussion, right? For me, that's what works for our family. But what I want to do is like, hey, we wait till we get married, but then here's all the things that you're going to experience. Here's all the things you're going to go through so that if they do it beforehand, they're prepared and they know and they understand what that's going to look like. So, you have to do what works best for your family, for your kids. Everyone's kids are different. They mature at different levels. But, telling someone just wait till you're married and you'll figure it all out. That's how I ended up in college with a UTI because no one ever told me you're supposed to pee after
Oh,
sex. Like, didn't
oh,
get that memo.
oh,
I know. It was not
oh.
fun.
And you see, this is how we have to agree to disagree because me, I'm like, I want you to have sex before you're married. Have I
Right.
not spoke? I haven't spoken to my kids about that yet because I have to wait till they get a little older. They're both, like they know where babies come from. They know
Mm-hmm.
about periods. They know the basics. Once they get older, they already know their mom's going to talk to them about all this stuff. Because I tell them, I said, you are going to have a sex education from me. They just look at me like, why does our mother have to be like this? I don't care.
Yeah.
But I want both of them to have sex before they're married. I even wrote an article about it. Why? In my honest opinion, you need to test the waters before you go making any strong commitment. I put it along the line of you have financial discussions, you
Mm-hmm.
have a whole bunch of other topics of discussion.
Hopefully. Hopefully they
Hopefully,
have those discussions.
sex needs to be one of them, and sex is
Right.
not one of them. Sex is not one of them. So, you
Yeah.
know, I totally get you. I was raised up in a household. You don't have sex till you're married. You can't even literally, it's mainly I need to just go find a man and the next day I need to marry him. That
Right.
was the home I was in.
Right. Yeah.
Dating wasn't even discussed because I don't even know how I was supposed to find a man because I wasn't supposed to do nothing.
Right.
So I get
But
it
this
now.
is like the thing, you find your own way, you know what I mean? And so, like, as teenagers, as adolescents, we push the boundaries, we want to explore these things, sound a little bit exciting. And I really talk about that in the first two parts. There's 8 parts to the book and about
Mm-hmm.
40 chapters.
Got it.
So the first part of the book, called Opening Up, is really me going through those early stages of puberty. So it's a little more tame and very relatable. And then all of a sudden I hit 14 in Hello V, and that's where my vagina is introduced as an actual character in the book. And so,
Why 14? Did you get your period at 14?
no, but that's when I started to become active.
You lost your virginity at 14?
I did.
Girl, you beat me. I was 15.
Yeah. I was
You you
young.
you beat me. Look at, and
I
I
was,
thought I was the youngest.
right? And this is why I'm like, yeah, wait till you're married.
You're trying to speak positivity. I get it, but at least you're realistic and
Yeah.
wait till you're married, but in the back of your mind you already know these little people ain't going to listen to me.
They're
But
going to do what they're going to do. Right, exactly. Because, I mean, my parents probably, I don't know, I hope they don't listen to this, but they're probably have a heart attack. I already told them, please don't
this
read the
woman
book.
has a whole family and then she says, "I hope they don't listen to this."
Seriously. Because, I think people think things too. Like, oh, well, she was 14. She must have been a hot seat. She must have been this. She must have been that.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, like, I was just a curious girl who had a crush on a guy. I wasn't even dating him. Like, we were
Same
not
here.
boyfriend, girlfriend. We were just, like, at a party. He's like, I won't give it away. You'll have to read the book. But it's just,
Don't give it away. Just give little snippets. Do not give it away because I want to get the book because I want to read
yes.
about Karen's vagina.
Yes. And it's the thing that I've loved so much because it's available right now for pre-order on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. So they've been shipping to people and people have been starting to get them. And as people have started to read, they've been messaging me like, oh my gosh, Karin, this takes me right back to junior high when I got my period. And then they tell me this whole story. And it's like so exciting because you're reading my story, but really what you're going to redo is relive your story.
Exactly.
And that's why the book is so powerful.
Good. Now I have a question for you about when you finally agreed to what your husband had said about why don't you just write a book about your vagina? When you went to him, did he really take you seriously or was he saying, "Oh, it was just a joke. What are you doing?" Blah, blah, blah. Like, was he on board with you when you decided to do this? Or was he like, "Karin, are you fucking kidding me? It was
Oh,
just a joke."
it's a little bit of 50-50. I got to be honest. We've gone back and forth. This has definitely been a struggle. I think initially he was like, yeah, go for it. Write a book. And then I started sharing a couple chapters with him. And he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're going to tell them what? No. Why do you need to tell them that? That doesn't need to be in there. And so he wanted to kind of edit some of the things out. And I was like, this is my story. I was like, I have to tell it. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, I can't leave these things out because they're so important. They're so pivotal to how I got to where I got. And so slowly I got him to kind of accept some of this stuff. But we've also made an agreement that he just doesn't want to read it. So he's...
And that's fine. And you know what I find about a lot of men? although we like to call them dogs, sexual beings, when it comes to having sexual conversations or their women talking about sex lives or their vagina, they become very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Because even with the podcast, I talk a lot about sex. I talk a lot about his penis, a
Mm-hmm.
lot about like sex in general. He doesn't want to really like hear any of that.
Right.
So I'm not surprised your husband made that comment because
Yeah.
they become very conservative. Like, this is bedroom activity. Why are you broadcasting this?
Right. Exactly. And so funny, the other day he picked up a copy of my book because he was like, because I have it now in the house. He's like, I'm just
Hmm.
going to kind of like just check it out.
Hmm.
And he just slams the book shut. And he's like, Karen, I was trying to support you. He's like, but you put that chapter in there of us in your parents' house.
Oh,
I'm
he's
like,
so cute. I was trying to support you, but I just can't. I can't
yeah.
handle this. And I applaud you for having the book in the house because I definitely, and I know you are probably one of the women that your children know the basic anatomy. They know they have,
Yeah.
and you have boys, so they
Yeah.
know they have a penis. They know mom has a vagina. And I raised my kids knowing penis, vagina. You're going to use the word. Of course, my daughter thought it was disgusting from the time she was young. She's adapting now, but this is what it is. It's a
Yeah.
vagina. It's not a pussy. That's what
Nope.
the streets call it. It's a vagina.
Yes. Although I use a lot of different terms in the book for comedic value. So,
I
like,
get it.
oh my gosh, I had so much fun, like coming up with things like tuna taco or playing the clitar or
Tuna
just like,
clitar. Where did you even find that?
oh,
Clitar.
Google is your friend. And I have a friend who's a sex coach.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
her name's Nina. And she just, like, we would be messaging at like 10 p.m. I'm like, give me another analogy for clit or give me another thing for this. And she would just like slam me with
Oh, I
these like
like that.
hilarious.
Clitar. This
Isn't
is
that so
good.
cute?
So now, when did you decide? So we're going to put the book on pause.
Sure.
How did you transition from six figure to now what you're doing? How did that transition take place? And how did you introduce that to your husband?
Yeah, so it
Because I know
really,
his thought process was like, you probably were consistently surprising this man. Now you're writing a book about your vagina, a little bit of y'all sex life, and some intimate parts that this man can't even handle reading. And now, how are you supposed to approach him saying, I'm thinking of leaving my six-figure job so I can promote my vagina? He was probably like, what the fuck did
right,
I walk into?
right.
She's losing her
Yes.
goddamn mind.
Yeah, especially since I was the breadwinner.
I
Um,
see.
yes. But what I will
And
say,
more, I love you more and more. I love the fact that you said you were the breadwinner. Karen,
mhm,
do you know how many women, number one, are afraid to say that? Do you know? And the fact that you feel confident about it
mhm,
and you're still like in a good relationship. We all have fucking problems, but you're still
right.
in a happy relationship, even though you have no, I was the breadwinner. I made
Hmm.
more than him. This is what it is, and I applaud that. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
saying that. I
Yeah,
appreciate.
we used to joke
Most women don't
sometimes.
say that,
I'm
and
like, I'm your
because it's
sugar
like they
mama.
feel ashamed because society wants us to believe that our man needs to make more than the woman, and if the
Right.
man makes less, then he's a piece of shit. You need to question him and question your relationship, which that's not the case. If a
No,
woman makes more, there's nothing wrong with that.
exactly. Yep, I agree 100%. And so, I think he saw what was happening to me.
Hmm.
And I call it a midlife crisis. I mean, it's self-diagnosed,
If you don't mind
but
me asking, how old were you? Well, '09, you were pregnant. This is when the idea came to fruition.
yes.
How many
So,
years have gone by now?
yeah, I took a real hiatus to chase the paychecks and the titles for about 10 years. So, it
Okay,
was like 2019. End of
got it.
2018, we had a death in the family.
Got it.
Early 2019, we had another death in the family. And
Got it.
within that 4 months, I would say my midlife crisis peaked.
Okay.
And so this is not something that I'm getting much more open about talking about it. But what was happening is I was waking up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom because I
Mm-hmm.
was drinking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I was self medicating. I was just using alcohol to cope with the
Mm-hmm.
stress at work, stress with life. And it was like, if I just drink, then I don't have to deal with anything.
Got it.
So we're talking anywhere from 2 to 4 glasses a night,
Oh,
like heavy drinking pretty much consistently every night of the week.
okay.
And so I would have to
And
wake
you
up
were
in the middle of
still
the night.
able to make it to work.
Yeah,
to
and
the
I would
corporate
wake up
job?
at 5 a.m. and work out. Like, I don't know. I was just on like this foggy autopilot.
Oh
Like,
gosh.
I just lived the same, it was like Groundhog's Day
Uh-huh.
every single day.
Got it. Okay.
Wake up, work out, rush around like a chicken with my head cut off, drop the kids off at school, go to work, be there till 5 o'clock, come home, make dinner, maybe do some sports thing with the kids, get homework done, put kids to bed, work for 2 hours, drink, probably while I was working, and
Uh-huh.
then go to bed, wake up 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, have to go to the bathroom, and have a panic attack.
You were literally on autopilot.
Like, I didn't even know what I was doing. I just did it. I just woke out of bed. And that's why I always say to people, I was in the passenger seat of my life. Like, I was not
Okay.
in the driver's seat. I just, wherever the wind took me, I just made it happen.
Got it.
And so I would wake up and I would go to the bathroom, and it would be dark because I wouldn't want to turn on the light
Mm-hmm.
to hit my eyes. And we had this like very low dimmer that I would just have a twinge of light. And I would, for some reason, think about death and what it will be like when I'm no longer here in this physical earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it would send this wave of terror over me because for just a moment it would feel real. Like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't exist. Like I was floating or I wasn't here and it was dark. And I would panic. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Like I'm going to die and I can't stop that.
Mm-hmm.
And that scared the shit out of me. So I just kept thinking, what am I doing with my life? Making PowerPoints every day,
Mm-hmm.
going to this job where I'm unappreciated. People don't value me. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
making an impact on the world. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could make a loose stretch. I was in energy at the time, but like, I really don't think I was like saving the planet or anything.
I gotcha. I totally understand.
So I just, one day I told my husband, I came out of the bathroom crying and he was like, holy crap, what happened? Are you okay? It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. We have to get up pretty soon for work. And
Oh.
he's like, what is happening? And I'm like, just shut up and let me tell you. I'm like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
freaking out. I'm really scared I'm going to die. And he was like, where is this coming from? So we had this like whole discussion, first thing in the morning. And he was like,
Oh.
I don't want to leave you and go to work. Like, are you okay? Are you going to kill yourself? And I was like,
Oh.
no, I don't want to die. I'm like, I'm definitely not that, like I'm not
Mm-hmm.
suicidal. I'm like, I want to live forever. Like, give me the fountain
Mm-hmm.
of youth. I don't know. And so I think as he watched me kind of go through this process and we put all the pieces together, like when he saw me starting to write the book again and like, getting excited and telling him about a new chapter that I wrote, it was like he was so happy that I found something that was giving me fire and excitement again. And it
Mm-hmm.
was almost like I have my wife back
Okay.
because I think there was like this piece of him that wanted to help me. Like he knew I was struggling, but he didn't know how to help me. And that's the thing, he couldn't help me.
Got it.
So for your listeners who maybe know somebody who might be going through a midlife crisis or kind of struggling with this idea of feeling stuck and like not knowing, they know they're not happy, but they don't know what else they want.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fix that person. They have to turn inward. They have to go to themselves because they have the answers. They're just not willing to look at the answers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my problem. I'd been
Gotcha.
seeing the signs since 2016 that I didn't belong in corporate and that I didn't want to do this anymore.
So
But
from the original bathroom situation when your husband brought up the topic of writing about your vagina, nothing, you made little, you were writing little key points,
yeah,
but nothing was really truly executed till 2019. So 10 years had gone by. You still stayed in the corporate job with the thought idea in the back of your head.
yep.
Got it. Got it.
And I
That's
mean, I
very
probably
interesting.
had maybe 10 or so chapters written right in
Mm-hmm.
2019 while I was on maternity leave. I like cranked out a whole bunch in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Because you had another baby after that. Because '09 you
Mm-hmm.
said was your first baby.
Yep.
So you
2011 was my second.
second. So you were like busy with life,
Right.
creating little books, creating documents for the book and stuff, small
Yeah.
preparations. But it wasn't just like this revelation in '09 and now a year or two later you're quitting your job. It took
Exactly.
time. And this
Yes.
is good to hear too, because people will look at your success. Oh, look at her. She's writing what she, but listen to this. The idea came in '09. Karen did
Mm-hmm.
not make a move officially till 2019.
That's
A whole
right.
10 years went by.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was literally right before the whole world shut down, end of February 2020, I went to New York City and met with an editor, and we had coffee together. And he was like, I can help you write this book. He's like, I'm not going to agent for you. I don't think he really believed in the project yet. He was
Got
just
it.
like, okay, your
Do you think he
referral.
didn't believe because when you told him the title about vagina, number one, you're a woman and you're writing about your vagina, and this man is like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Okay.
I don't know, because I was a little nervous about having a male editor, even just to begin with, because I thought, is he going
Mm-hmm.
to really get it? But he had worked
Mm-hmm.
on some other books, like Why Men Love Bitches, which was written by a
Oh,
woman.
okay. Okay.
And so I thought, he gets humor. He's very well known editor. He's really good at what he does. And I thought
Mm-hmm.
his connections are so vast and broad that, like, this is a person that I want to make sure I'm connected to.
Got it.
And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make him a believer. I'm going to turn this guy's opinion around, because he'd only read a couple of little chapters.
Got it.
And so then I was like on this mission, and he signed up. And then, like, 2 weeks later, the world shut down. And my big bonus that I was expecting that was going to pay for my editor was suddenly whoop, gone, not coming.
So you were still working in the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of the pandemic in 2020,
Yep.
but of course, we all know the pandemic affected everyone in some way, shape, or
Yes.
form. So now the bonus that you were expecting at the beginning of the year in 2020 to pay the editor, because we all know, for those of you listening, anyone out there who's an entrepreneur know that in the beginning, hello, we're not making any money. We're spending money out of our own pocket. And if you really are interested about a business and you think everything's supposed to happen for free, wake the hell up. Because you're hearing Karin here, six-figure woman, telling you my bonus was supposed to pay for editor. Now I don't get bonus. Go ahead. So what did you do,
Yeah.
Karin?
So I talked to my husband, and I was like, look, I have to bet on myself for once. I've never been
Mm-hmm.
more sure. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
have to give this a shot. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what? If I lose the money, oh well, I lose the money. Like, there'll be more
Exactly.
money, right? I can always
Exactly.
go get another job. I can always go get another bonus somewhere else. Like, but right now, like, I'm feel so passionate about this. I have to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, go for it. Like, this is your dream. This is, and also this is your money, like, this is your
Yeah.
savings that you want to dip into. He's like, go for it.
Got it.
So I did. I
I
mailed the
respect
check
that
out.
so much about you, Karin, because although this woman has a lot of key points, I love it. She was the breadwinner. She still, do you hear this healthy communication? She still checked in with her husband. Even though, as the man said, this is your savings, so go ahead. She
Mm-hmm.
still was considerate enough to check in with the guy to say, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. Even though we all knew she could have just tapped into her own stuff, not having to discuss with anybody. But respectfully, this is what you call healthy communication in a relationship because you still checked in with him. Go ahead.
Thank
Just
you.
pointing out these key points, girl.
No, I love that, because it really is a partnership. And that's like, I'm so grateful that I have such a supportive husband. I mean, he helps cook, he helps clean. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it was never like, hey, can you watch the kids for a little bit? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
they're your kids. Like, and he's like, they're my kids, Like, so
Exactly.
we're totally, like, as much as possible, a 50-50, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
times where, he's not feeling well, or he's had a hard day, and I pick up more slack. And there's other times where I'm like, hey, I'm launching a book for the next, 3 weeks. I need to be doing nothing but podcasts and talking to people.
Exactly.
Like, you got this? Yeah, Karin, I got this. So,
Good. That's good. Healthy
important.
communication. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Amen.
now you tap into your savings.
Yep. And we go for it. And I start writing feverishly. I start delegating any work that I can possibly delegate to my team members. I start missing calls. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm here at work, but I'm checked out. Like,
Got it.
I now have this new mission. And they kept talking about at work how there were going to be layoffs. We got acquired by another company. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, they're going to lay me off. It's just a matter of when. I know that they're weaseling
Oh.
me out. They did a little shuffling of the deck chairs. I got folded
Mm-hmm.
underneath someone else, and I was like, "Yep, this is how they're gonna get rid of me."
Got it.
So I literally was so mentally prepared, and I couldn't wait for it. I was like fantasizing about getting laid off and getting a severance package. And finally, the call came August 12th of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
and I my boss calls me, I'm sorry, I have this bad news. And I stopped him and I go, you have great news. And he's like, okay, Karin, I have great news. We're letting you go. And I was like, that's amazing. Thank you. And he was like, all
What
right
is
then. So
going on? Did your
HR
boss
will be
know about the
calling you.
book? Did
He
your
didn't know.
Oh,
None of them knew
so
about
he
the book.
really was like, what the hell is happening here?
Right. Yeah. So everyone was really perplexed. That was a Wednesday.
Okay.
By Friday, I dropped off all my devices, my work stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
I donated all of my suits to Goodwill. And I was like, there's no going back. I'm burning the bridges. Like, good riddance, corporate. Like, this isn't me anymore. And so I had a little cushion. I had a little runway. And this is one of the things I think is really important for listeners to hear too, was I didn't quit my job and have no plan and just be like, oh, well, hope this thing works out, right?
Yes. Yes.
I went on vacation for Labor Day weekend for my 40th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally unplugged. And I just thought about, what do I want to do? I needed a separation from old Karin, corporate Karin, and whatever this new entrepreneur Karin was going to look like.
Got it.
And we had a wonderful family vacation. We even brought our dog. Like, it was amazing. And then I came back and I reached out to a couple of people. And one of my old bosses had started her own company and was like, do you want to come consult for us?
Mm-hmm.
Come on part-time, teach our social selling boot camps, teach people how to use LinkedIn, help us redesign the curriculum and do some coaching. And I was like, perfect. Like, how can I say no to this instant income, right? Making more per hour than I was making in corporate, mind you. Although I don't work enough hours because I only do part-time.
Yeah, because you weren't working 180 hours. Wait, no, my math is wrong. 160. 80 and 80 is 160. You weren't working 160 plus hours a month. I get it. But you were making more an hour.
Right, exactly. So this gave me the cushion to be able to say, okay, I'm going to get certified as a life coach because I want to help other women do what I just did. I want to help other women reinvent their lives. So I would say you're going to rock your reinvention and edit your life, right? Like, we're not going to start your life all over. We're just going to make little tweaks and help you put up the boundaries you need to put up. If you want to leave corporate and start a business, what are the things you need to look at? What does your budget look like? What is your runway plan? Like, how are you going to give yourself that cushion? And work a lot on confidence, right? And that crazy imposter syndrome that many of us deal with.
I am one of them.
Yeah, we've all been there. It's so common. And every time we do something new, there's like a new imposter syndrome that shows up, right?
Exactly.
Like, hey, I'm an author now. Well, a lot of people would say you wrote a memoir. You're not a real author. It's not like you have a series of books. You didn't have to develop these characters. So I could very easily let that stuff get in my head and give me this imposter syndrome. Like, maybe I'm not a real author. I mean, I wrote 312 pages. It's like, it's an 80,000 word book. We worked with an editor. I wrote chapters. We edited them. Like, I am a real author, actually.
But giving yourself the validity that you deserve to call yourself that, because that's prime syndrome of imposter syndrome. I'm not worthy of giving myself that title.
Yeah.
What would make you worthy? Because you're not on the New York Times best-selling author yet? What's considered as worthy of calling yourself an author?
And let me tell you one thing too, because when I first working with my editor, he said, Karin, you got to build a platform because nobody buys memoirs from people they don't know. I mean, you buy a memoir from Madonna or Beyonce or someone because you know them, you're interested in their life, right? But for me, nobody knows me. Nobody is like inherently curious about Karin Freeland and her vagina. So he's like, you got to put together a website. You got to build a platform on Instagram and start doing this. And I thought to myself, oh crap, what am I going to put on the website? What am I? Who am I? And I started by calling myself a motivational speaker because I was doing a couple of podcasts and I was doing some speeches like this about how you could transform your life and how you have everything you need right within you to make the leap. So I said, I'm going to call myself a motivational speaker. And let me tell you how crazy the universe is. When you call yourself something, you become it. So all of a sudden, I won a contest. I never win anything. Shirley, I've played the lotto a lot of times. I've never won a damn thing. Okay? And I won a seat, one of 5, in this motivational speaking course to learn how to write your speech in 90 days. And it was just like, I saw this thing on LinkedIn. I go, I'm going to just submit a little video. We'll see. If I win, great. If I don't, oh well. And sure enough, I won it. And I started writing my talk, which ultimately became part of my master class that I now teach in my life coaching. Like, everything just started lining up. And I believe that's why my position got eliminated, because I kept telling myself, I'm not going to leave corporate until the end of the year. December 31st, that is my cutoff. I'm going to leave whether there's a severance package or not.
Oh, so you actually did set a date at that point in time. That year you went to meet the editor. You actually had a game plan in place
Yes.
where you were planning on leaving December 31st. So you had a game plan.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. And I always say this, even though pandemic was a negative
Of
to a lot
course.
of people and still is, but it was a true blessing to some.
Yeah. And I believe my higher power, whatever other people believe, I believe in God, but
Mm-hmm.
I think he was just like, oh no, girlfriend, it's time to fly. Like, we don't
Yeah,
have time to wait another 4 months. Like, because you might get tempted and not actually quit. It might go, oh, I can still juggle these things for a little bit longer.
exactly.
And it was like a baby mama pushing that bird out of the nest. Like, it's time to fly. And it
Time to
was
fly.
amazing.
That's good. That's such a blessing. So now you were offered this position, this consulting position by your friend. Are you still presently doing that?
I am. Yeah, I have
That is
been
great.
so fortunate to be able to juggle that between my own private coaching clients and launching the book.
Hmm.
That has been just like a great mix of being able to juggle those 3 things. And I still don't work Friday. Like, I
Because
take every Friday off.
you have more flexibility now. You're not working Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, or
Right.
9 to 5, whatever your schedule was, which is really not it was more like 8 to almost 6 by the time, if you take in consideration your commute. This position
Easy.
is giving you a bit more flexibility, allowing income to come in while you're still, working hard to get to where you need to be as a coach and launching your book.
Yeah.
Now, how has the family taken on this big transition? The boys with mom, and if I know you, Karen, just from this snippet, I know you made sure you were still a front and center mom, even though you were
Mm-hmm.
working that 6-figure job, because this is what a lot of mothers do. We figure out how to be everywhere,
Well,
literally.
yes, literally, I was present. I was
Mm-hmm.
always physically present.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, I was checked out.
Yeah,
And so the family, I think, has actually really appreciated this shift in me, because then
that's
now
good.
I'm there mentally as well,
Good. That's good.
90% of the time.
Oh, of course. I mean, we
Yeah,
can't always be there. We want to, but we
right.
can't. But the family has taken this adjustment as a positive. Your husband and the
Yes.
boys, they're like, okay, mom's doing this transition, which is nice because with the consultant job, are you able to make your own hours?
Generally speaking, I mean, occasionally things will be set by a client, but 90% of the time, I just say, like, hey, that day's not good for me. Let's do this day, or I can juggle things around. So,
That's
and that's why I
perfect.
continue to do it, because it is so flexible.
That is absolutely perfect. Now, you had mentioned about, I hope my parents don't hear this podcast. What have these individuals said about their daughter writing a book about their vagina, Miss Thing?
Yes. So my dad has been radio silence, not a peep.
Doesn't surprise me. Most men
Like,
don't even, they don't say the word vagina. They don't even
mm-mm.
like saying the word vagina. So I know your father's probably like, what the hell is going on with
I
her?
know. Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's no surprise. I mean, I was a troublemaker in school. I was class clown, in my, senior year notables,
Oh,
or class troublemaker. So like, they're no shock to like, hey, Karen got, suspended from school, or Karen's in detention again. I mean, like, I was always kind of like the rebel rouser. But I think he's proud of me in the sense that he's like, you wrote a book. Like, that's amazing. Good job.
exactly.
But I think they would have preferred it was about something else. Probably this
A
topic
more
wasn't what they
modest
were,
topic. A more
perhaps.
modest topic. But you know what? You have to live your life, Karen.
You do. You
You
do.
know, no matter how your father may feel about it, he's being as respectful as he knows how to be. And not
Yes.
saying anything is the best respect that this man can give you.
That's right.
And what has mama said about this?
Well, when I first told her, she laughed a lot. And she thought it was just really funny. And she was like, am I hearing this right? Like, are you serious? And then, her first question was like, well, am I in the book? And like, she just wants to make sure she's
Oh,
not reflected poorly.
I see. Okay, so mom is just looking out for herself. What you talking about us and saying in that book? Other than that, I don't really care what you do.
Right. So
Okay.
I think, I have strongly implored her not to read the book. And
Okay.
she has said, why? Am I going to think less of you? And I was like, you might. Because I think they also have this view of me. And I don't think they need to know about,
Do
teenage
they
sex
know?
things I was
Does she know
doing.
you lost your virginity at 14?
She does now.
Oh, yeah. This podcast, if my parents even listen, they'll know like 15 is when it happened.
Yeah.
They know I was having sex at a young age, but they don't know when I lost my virginity. But listening to this podcast, they will discover.
Yeah.
So, and that's
Yep.
on them. I've accepted the
Right.
fact that whatever you hear is what you hear. I am literally going to be 40 in less than 2 years. At this point, I don't give two shits.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I was like, look, you just remember me how you always remember me, and then like whatever. But I think my mom's too curious not to read it. So she's like, well, some of the ladies at book club want to know if we should do it for a book club. And I was like,
Oh,
I mean, I did make a book club guide on my website, but I'm not sure your book club is what I had in mind.
they might not be ready. They not ready.
No. Although it would surprise you. Like, you never know. Each person has a different level of, like, comfort with this kind of conversation. And there could be women out there who are just really like, yeah, like, more power to you. I wish somebody had a book like this when I was younger.
I would say out of her book club people, maybe there might be one or two.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you really don't know, but there's going to be that
Right.
one
Oh, yeah.
conservative person that's like, I can't read this. And whatever
Well,
your mom's name, I'm going to just throw Helen out there.
Yeah.
Helen, I can't read about your daughter's vagina.
Right. Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, this was so good. So now the advice I have for you, and I want you to tap into many advices because I love the fact that you said I was the breadwinner and you said it with confidence. I want you to provide women out there with motivation if they are the breadwinner to be confident about it and not feel ashamed. If they do have a dream they want to pursue, how should they consider that? Because again, let's remember, Karen did not just jump into this. It was literally 11 years from when this first initial thought came into her head before she is where she is at right now. So you don't need to jump so quickly into the ocean and literally drown yourself to death. I want you to give an advice about that. And just let them know how not to be scared
Yeah.
to, take those steps because it is scary going into the world of entrepreneurship. It's very scary. And I like the fact that you said you had to fund this at the beginning.
Yep.
That's just the reality. People want to go into entrepreneurship thinking money's just going to rain the hell on down and it's just going to find them. No, this is not how this shit works. You need to fund your dream in the beginning. This is how it works. No one's out here like, oh, Karen, you want to do this? Well, let me help. It just doesn't happen like that.
Yeah.
So what motivation do you have to offer to the women out there in the so many different categories I've given you?
Sure.
But you touch on all of them, which I love.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
love.
So, I mean, I would say when you are feeling stuck, right? When you're in this place of like, you're restless, you want something else, but you don't necessarily know what, because that was the exact boat I was in. I didn't wake up one morning and just go, oh, I know, I'm going to quit my job and become a life coach and finish my book and then do some consulting on the side. Like, it literally just started to fall in place because I started to make a change. Change one thing, change anything, And
Mm-hmm.
when you make that change, you're going to start to see things from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So if I take you back to 2017, I'd been in my corporate job at the same company for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing well. I was well networked. I was well respected. But the carrot kept moving. Every time I would jump through hoops, the thing that they had promised me wasn't there.
Got it.
And so a recruiter came to me and said, "Hey, we need a director of marketing over at this other company. Do you want to come along?" And I thought, you know what? I don't know. Am I good enough? Am I good? It's a different company? Am I only good here because I know all the right people and I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing it for so long? Which is
Mm-hmm.
the garbage stuff we put in our head, right?
Exactly.
Well, 9 years of doing basically the same thing at the same company, all of a sudden I made a pivot. I jumped to another company and I was there for about 3 years. And around 2.5 years is when I really started to make all these changes in my life. And so I'm telling you this because I made that change from something that was so comfortable for 9 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then it was 2.5 years ish, 2 to 2.5 years before I made my next big change. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden the changes came in 3 month increments and 6 month increments and 2 month increments, right?
Mm-hmm.
It became easier and easier to change because I was no longer stuck looking at the world through one color glass, right?
Exactly.
So for me, I think journaling has really helped
Okay.
because you have to get honest with yourself. I mean, I sat there in 2017 in Vegas on a business trip
Mm-hmm.
watching the Jabberwockies. So I was a dance major in college, so I am obsessed with the Jabberwockies. And they had a show in Vegas, and their whole thing was basically about being the Walking Dead and being a zombie and never really living your life, just going through the motions. And I had chills. I was like, they're talking to me. That's me. I'm the zombie right here in the third row, all by
Mm-hmm.
myself at the show. And it was like set off this chain in my head of like, I have to change. But now what? I
Exactly.
can't really give up my job. I can't
Mm-hmm.
really do this. I can't really do that. Right. And I kept talking myself out of it.
All the negativity you were feeding
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. And that's what a lot of the work that I do with my clients is so much around mindset and
Mm-hmm.
shifting the way that we talk to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Saying things like, I should stay in corporate and be the breadwinner. Why? Why should I do that? Do I want to do that? Do I even like doing that? Well,
Exactly.
who says I should? According to who? So when you start to ask these questions and you start to really think and journal, and look
Mm-hmm.
at this stuff on paper and go, well, I don't really think that. Why do I think that? It takes away its power.
Mm-hmm.
You strip that thought of its power, and suddenly you have the ability to make a change and a pivot in your life.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I mean, talking to you is so inspirational. I am definitely going to pre order The Ins and Outs of My Vagina, a penetrating memoir, because I want to read about Karen's vagina and all the extra stuff that you have in there. Because in my mind, I was like, how is she writing a book about the vagina and what is it going to say? But you told us. So there's so many different parts of it that you're breaking down, which is important for, is this okay? Like, is there an age restriction on this?
So I think it depends on the child. I mean, what I have really said is 18 and up,
Okay.
because I think
Okay.
by the time you're 18, 19, like you're probably mature enough to read about sex. But again, everybody kind of needs to make that decision for themselves.
Okay.
Um, I think women of all ages will really get some insight. So, like, if you're in
Wonderful.
like the 25-30 area and you're starting to think about maybe kids or a family, you might find the section where I talk about pregnancies
Mm-hmm.
really interesting. And for the
Okay.
first time ever, I talk about my ectopic pregnancy, which resulted in a miscarriage,
Mm-hmm.
and what that is like. And
Got
how
it.
do you get back in the saddle? And, how do you deal and cope with it? And so
Oh, this is great.
there's
So there's all different types of support for where you are in your life in this
100%.
book. This is great. This is
And I mean,
definitely
I
good.
haven't gone through menopause yet, so I'm setting myself up for a sequel. But even if you have already gone through menopause and you're an older woman, like I said, you can read this whole book and relive
Mm-hmm.
your life at
Mm-hmm.
the same time and just reminisce about all these amazing stories that you've had in your own vagina mishaps and misadventures.
And also gain some clarity. and
Yes.
better understanding, because how it is now,
Yeah.
getting your period, and we're not far in age. I'm 38, you're 40. So us, that time when we got our period was different from back
Yes.
then when our parents got their period. So it helps actually bring clarity to these women
Yeah.
if you're the older generation. So it's good to always keep yourself educated and fine tuned and understanding of what's going on and how these millennials, you're not a millennial, I'm a millennial. What are you?
I'm like right on the cusp. I go
You're
between,
before.
sometimes I act like a Gen X and sometimes I act like a
Oh yeah,
millennial.
you're the Gen X, and then right after Gen X is the millennial because I'm at the top of the millennial list. So,
Yeah.
very interesting. Well, Karen, it was absolutely awesome speaking to you. You provided an extreme amount of insight for women. Me also have been the breadwinner, making more than hubby in our relationship, and I've felt confident about it. But at times, I've seen people look at me like, "Oh, you make more than him? We should question what he's doing or what's going on." That's not the fucking case. Just
Right.
because as a woman I make more, there's nothing wrong with that. Or even if the man wanted to be a stay at home mom. So I'm glad, I was very happy to hear you say that because we don't hear that enough with confidence and no shame attached to it. And how you went to pursue in writing your book. 11 years went by before you truly began executing this dream. Two children, literally a meltdown before you were like, I got to do this. I need to stop sitting on this shit and I got to do this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So again, you guys, all her information is going to be available on the website for you to purchase her book. I definitely encourage you to get it. Why? Because, anything that has to do with sex, vagina, and anything else Shirley promotes. I love it. I love it. I love it. Relationship shit, because we don't talk about it enough. So as always, thank you for listening and have a wonderful day. Remember to love yourself, voice yourself, and be yourself. Till the next podcast, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Fampale Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, I want to hear from you. Head on over to the website or join our Facebook community and comment your favorite part of the show or share your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Chat with you next week.